Hello teachers or future teachers. Here we are with the last part of the CBEST practice test, and it's for the mathematics section only. It says use the information below to answer the question that follows. The grocery store is located 3 miles away from the house. So there is a house, there is a grocery store. Actually, let me write it in here. The grocery store is away from the house 3 miles. So between this and this, there are 3 miles. The house is located 4 miles away from the highway. The house is 4 miles away from the highway. Now, notice that in here, you can go from the house to the highway that way, and it's going to be 4 miles, or you can also go that way 4 miles. Okay, so if you go from here, let me use a different color, to the highway, let's say that you keep driving that way, and the entrance to the highway, it's going to be 4 miles, and it's not to scale. But you can also go from here, and it might be in that direction, so it's gonna be, let's say, maybe here is another extra mile, right? You keep driving, and so from here to here again is 4 miles. Okay, before we continue, I think it would be a good idea for you to have this vocabulary. Greater than means you're gonna use this symbol, greater than. Less than is going the opposite direction. At least, some people get confused with that one. They want to use the less than because they relate less and least. But just the fact that it says at least. For example, if you say, oh, I want to find a job and I want to earn at least $20 an hour, that means that I want more, right? More than $20, or at least includes the equal. So at least $20 means $20 or more. So it's greater or equal to. The same for no less than. Okay, I will not accept less than $20. So if it's no less than $20, I want more or equal to the $20, no less than. The minimum also, the minimum that I will accept is $20. I want that or more. So for that one, it's also greater or equal than. Now for less than is less than. That's very simple, straightforward. At most means at most I'll give you $5,000 for your car. So I'm gonna give you less or equal to 5,000. I will give you no more than 5,000. I'll give you less or equal to the 5,000 for that car. The limit is, okay, so the limit is they gave me $5,000 to buy a car, so it's gonna be less or equal to, okay? So those are some vocabularies that you might find useful. And let's go back to the problem. That we have that vocabulary, no more than means less or equal miles away from the highway, okay? So less or equal than 3 miles away, okay? Less or equal than 3. So careful, don't get confused with the word more, but it says no more than that. Okay, so it has to be less or 3 miles. Now let's analyze this. The grocery store is right here. No more than 3 miles away from the highway means that it has to be less or equal than 3. But notice how, if this is the grocery store, I'll just put store. From here to here, since from here to here is 4 miles, these are 3 miles, that means that from here to here is going to be 1 mile, okay? One possibility, because we don't know if this is the entrance or if this is the entrance. The other possibility is that from the store, grocery store, to the highway over here It's gonna be these 3 miles plus 4 more, so that the other possibility is for it to be 7 miles, okay? So 1 mile or 7 miles, okay? So when letter A says the grocery store is no more than 3 miles away from the highway, we don't know, because it could be 7 miles and that will be greater than this. So that, for that reason, we say that A is not a possibility. B says the grocery store, again, is no more than 1 mile. Again, it has to be less or equal than 1. It might, but again, it might not. So again, we say that B is not a possibility because there are 2 possible answers for that one. Letter C says the grocery store is no more than 7 miles. So it's less or equal than 7 miles. That's what it's saying in here. So yeah, it can be 1 or it can be 7. The equal includes the 7, so that is a possibility, okay? Because it could be one or the other. Letter D says the grocery store is exactly 3 miles from the highway. The grocery store, no, neither one. It's either 1 or 7, but not exactly 3. Exactly 3 is the store and the house. So that's why that's not correct. And the last one, the grocery store is exactly 4 miles from the highway. No, the one that is exactly 4 miles from the highway is the house, right? Not the grocery store. So for that reason, we cross that one out as well, and so it's letter C. Number 44. Use the information below to answer the question that follows. If the distance to a destination is greater than 10 miles from home, then Matt will drive his car. So when will he drive his car? If he drives more than 10 miles, okay? And the representation would be, it would be greater than 10. This will be the symbol. The next one says, if the distance to a destination is greater than 2 miles, but less than 10 miles from home, then Matt will ride his bicycle. So bicycle. So it says greater than 2 miles, but less than 10 miles. I'm just gonna put in words between 2 and 10 miles, okay? Now let me show you how the math would look. So it's gonna be X is greater than 2, but less than 10, okay? And finally, it says, if the distance to a destination is less than 2 miles from home, then Matt will walk. So walk less than 2 miles. And so it's going to be X is less than 2. Okay. So it says, if Matt rode his bicycle, okay, to Zachary's apartment, which of the following statement could be true? So that means that when he rode his bicycle, it had to be 2 to 10 miles between those two. So let's look at what each one says. Matt's home is less than 1 mile from Zachary's apartment. No, if it's less than the 2, he would have walked, so we can say that A is not correct. Letter B says, Matt and Zachary lived within 2 miles of each other. Within means less than that, okay? So again, he would have walked if it was less than 2 miles, so it's within 2 miles. Letter C says, Zachary's apartment is about 7 miles from Matt's home. Yeah, 7 is between the 2 and the 10, so that makes sense. But let's look at the other ones to see why they're not correct. Letter D says Zachary's apartment is at least 10 miles from Matt's home. At least, if you remember, means more or equal than that, okay? Greater or more than 10 miles, he would have used his car, so that doesn't make sense. The round trip distance between Matt's and Zachary is greater than 20 miles. Round trip means going back and forth, okay? Going one direction and coming back home. So even if it's greater than 20, that means that just one direction will be more than 10, so it still doesn't make sense. He would have used his car. Number 45. Use the statements below to answer the question that follows. There will be softball practice every Saturday throughout the season with the following exceptions. So if it rains, softball practice will be canceled. Okay, if it rains, canceled. There is no softball practice on the third Saturday of the month. Okay, no softball practice on the third Saturday. So if it is Saturday, but there is no softball practice, then it must be true that, let's see, it is raining. Not necessarily. We don't know if it's, because it can be one or the other. Right? It might be raining or it might be the third Saturday, so that alone will not give us the explanation. It is the third Saturday of the month. Again, we don't know. We don't know why there is no practice. It might be that it's one or the other, so alone doesn't make sense. Letter C says it is raining and it is the third Saturday of the month. Again, having both being the circumstance doesn't mean that that's the answer. Just the word and doesn't make sense, and we don't know that both are happening, okay? So letter D says it is raining or it is the third Saturday of the month. Yeah, it can be for this reason or it can be for this other reason, okay? So basically letter C is saying that both have to happen in order to cancel the practice. And no, it has to be one or the other, not both at the same time. So that will make sense. Okay, it can be one for one reason or for the other. Letter E, softball games are on the third Saturday of the month. No, that doesn't, we're not even talking about the games, it's about the practice. Number 46, use the table below to answer the question that follows. And before we even analyze the table, I just want to know what the question is so that I don't start looking at all the information. It says the partial school schedule above shows the start times and the end times of class periods. Except for lunch, all classes are the same length. What is the missing start time for fifth period? So if you notice, for fifth period, you're missing the timing here, and they want to know when is that time. So since they say that all the periods are the same length, I can just look at a couple of them and notice that, and look at the time that goes between each period. So from 8:40 to 9 is 20 minutes. And then from 9 to 9:36 is 36 minutes. So together, that's gonna be 56 minutes. Okay, so that's important information. And then I look at the other ones and I notice that all of them have 40 and all of them go to the 36 of the following hours. So it makes sense that they are the same amount of minutes, okay? Having that information, then we can just subtract or go back 46 minutes in time and figure out that time. So the easiest way to do it is from these 56 minutes, take away those and you'll be at 1 p.m. Okay, so 56 minus the 15 minutes, you get 41 minutes. Okay, and that's to go back. I keep pressing. That's to go back to 1 p.m. Now from 1 p.m. go back 41 minutes, and from 1 p.m. going back 41 minutes, that means that it's going to be 12:19. okay? Because it's 60 minutes minus 41, you get 19. So it's gonna be 12:19 p.m. So that's the way that I subtracted or went back. You might use a different strategy, but it's just going back 56 minutes and figure out what that time is going to be, okay? So it's 12:19 that the other class starts. Now, if you want to check, you can always just go, okay, from 12:19 to 1 p.m., that's 41 minutes. And then from 1 to 1:15, you add the 41 minutes plus the 15, that's the 56 minutes, okay? 47, use the chart below to answer the question that follows. So it says, before looking at the chart, I'll read the question to see what they're asking. It says, how many metric tons of silver were produced outside the United States in 1950? Oh, okay. So I'm going to be looking at this information, which is 1950. And then it says U.S. and world silver production in metric tons. So you have the years in here. The United States produced 1,347 and the world produced 6,323. So all I have to do basically is subtract this amount from the worlds, and that will give me the difference, okay? So it's gonna be 6,323, which is the worlds, minus 1347. I subtract that amount, borrowing, I get 13 minus 7 is 6. I borrow again, 11 minus 4 is 7. And then borrow again, 12 minus 3 is 9, and 5 minus 1 is 4. So it's gonna be 4,976 metric tons, which is letter A. Number 48. It says, use the graph below to answer the question that follows. So you have a chart in here with two different lines. It says U.S. energy consumption, nuclear versus hydroelectric. And then the nuclear is the dotted line, hydroelectric is the solid line. And let's see what it's asking before we analyze both lines. According to the graph above, what was the maximum difference in energy consumption between the two sources of energy in any one of the years shown? So difference means that they want to see how separate. And if you compare year by year, so you look at here, this is a difference, this is the difference, this is the difference in that year for each one of those years. But they're looking for the maximum difference. Maximum means the greatest. So if you notice, these are separate, but we don't know how much is from here to here. We can just check, and up to here is even less than 3. More since it's cutting a little piece from here, right? So this is less than 3. Now let's look over here. This is the other. So by looking at this, it says that it's 1, 2, 3. So 3 and a little bit more. Now if we look at the answers down here, the one that makes sense is 3.2 quadrillion BTU. Number 49. Use the chart below to answer the question that follows. So it says percent of total corn crop yield in 1999. Okay, before we analyze the chart, what percent of the total crop yield did the Central Farm generate in 1999? So Central Farm is right here. It has a question mark if you notice. So remember that when we're talking about percent, the total will always be 100%. So what we can do is add all the percents of the other farms and then subtract it from 100, and that will give you the Central Farms. So 24, 21, 7, 31, We add them together: 4, 5, 12, 13. Carry 1, 1, 3, 5, 8. 83% of all the other farms together. We subtract 100 minus 83. We borrow. I'm just gonna put 10 minus 1 is 9, and then 10. 10 minus 3 is 7. 9 minus 8 is 1. So for the central farm will be 17%, which is letter A. And finally, number 50, use the graph below to answer the question that follows. It sells thousands of dollars, so let's see what it's asking. The graph shows the sales of a commodity over a 60-year period. Between what years did sales increase by the greatest amount? So that's what they're asking, the biggest, the years where where it increased the most. Okay, so in here we see that there is an increment, the slope is growing, but then this is a higher increase. Then the increase is slower, and slower or nothing actually between these 2 years, or this decade actually, because it's every 10 years. The greatest increase that we can see is between these 2 points, which is between years 1950 and 1960. So it would be between 1950 and 1960, which is letter B. Well, that's all for these sections of the practice test. I hope they have been helpful, and I hope that you pass the test. Make sure that you rest well the night before, prepare well before. I would recommend at least a month, so that you can see more exercises. Go to the place of the test early, so that you don't have that extra anxiety whether you can find or not the testing site. And just once you're there, try to relax, because then you will be able to concentrate more and really read between the lines of what is it that they are asking. Okay, I hope you pass, and bye bye.